You were the smart one, the one teachers pointed to, the one relatives praised at every gathering, the one who didn't have to try and still came first. And then, somewhere, in university, in your career, something shifted. Suddenly, everyone around you seemed equally capable. Effort started to feel embarrassing. Failure arrived. And it hit different. You started asking a question you never had to ask before. Am I actually smart? Or was I just in a small pond? This is not a personal failing. This is a documented psychological pattern. And it has a name. What is gifted child syndrome? Psychologist Alice Miller first wrote about it in the 1970s. The gifted child is not necessarily the most intelligent person in the room. The gifted child is the one who learned very early to perform for approval, to read the room, to give adults what they wanted, to be impressive, articulate, high achieving, and to attach their entire sense of self-worth to that performance, not to who they were, to what they produced. The praise felt like love, so they kept producing, and the identity that formed, the smart one, the one who has it together, became a cage dressed up as a crown. Why early praise is a double-edged sword. When a child is consistently praised for being smart, not for effort, not for resilience, something subtle and damaging happens. They begin to believe intelligence is fixed. Something you either have or you don't. Stanford psychologist Carol Dweck spent decades studying this. Children praised for intelligence avoided difficult tasks because failure would threaten the identity. Children praised for effort sought out harder challenges because struggle was part of the process. The gifted child grows up believing that ease is proof of ability. When things stop being easy, they don't think, I need to work harder. They think, maybe I was never actually smart. That one misbelief causes decades of damage. How it shows up in adult life. Perfectionism that paralyzes. If the work isn't going to be exceptional, it doesn't get started. Better not to try than to try and reveal the fraud underneath. Procrastination as self-protection. The unfinished project can always be explained. The finished one that fails cannot. Imposter syndrome that persists even after genuine achievement. Because achievement never feels like proof. It just raises the stakes for the next performance. Collapse under criticism. Not because they are fragile, but because their identity was never separate from their performance. Criticism of the work feels like annihilation of the self. What the gifted child actually needed. This is not a story about bad parents. Most parents who raised gifted children were doing their best. But what the gifted child needed and didn't always receive was not more praise. It was permission to be ordinary, permission to struggle visibly, to fail without explanation, to be confused and not immediately brilliant. When a child only receives warmth in their capable moments, they learn that love is conditional on performance. They spend the rest of their life performing and quietly wondering why they feel so alone inside the success. What actually heals it? The healing is not in achieving more. More achievement just raises the ceiling of the performance you have to maintain. It begins with one question. Who are you when you are not being impressive? Not what can you do? Not what have you achieved? Who are you when the performance stops? If that question produces panic, that is where the work is. If this resonated, if you know the exhaustion of always having to be the one who has it together, if you know what it feels like to be surrounded by success and still feel like a fraud, you are not broken. You are someone who learned to perform for love instead of simply receive it. That is a pattern, not a personality. Patterns can change. The smart kid grew up. Now it's time to let them rest.